throughout the gospel readings, you can always have much, much more than what is said in any sermon. That doesn't last 6 or 8 hours, as did St. John Chrysostom's when he gave his sermons. You've heard this gospel, I'm sure, many, many times. But the interesting thing is that clearly the man is a paralytic. And you can see that he's an invalid. And it even says that Jesus, as being divine, knew that he was ill or diseased. And he comes to him and he asks him the question. He says what? He says, "Do you want to be made well?" And this seems like such a silly question. What do you mean, do I want to be well? I've been sitting here for 38 years. Yes, I want to be well. But in here, and what is wonderful about this is because we celebrate St. Cyril of Jerusalem today, a 4th century father of the church, who wrote many, many things. And one of them was a commentary on this Bible reading. And so in it, what he says is what is obvious to us is the fleshly statement of, do you want to be made well? Okay. And this is what happens when we go to the doctor, right? The doctor will ask, will say, okay, what are your diseases? What is that? And he makes the assumption, or she makes the assumption, that you want to be well. But what St. Cyril of Jerusalem says is that there is also a second component to this. And that second component is, do you wish to be healed in your soul? Spiritually, do we wish to be healed? And this is the component, this is the piece that we have lost today. Because when we get sick, and even in St. Cyril's a homily that he gives, he even states at that time that the only thing that we think about is our physical health. So this is nothing new, all right? But when we get sick, we think of our physical health, and St. Cyril of Jerusalem says, and the very next words out of our mouth is, "Why has God done this to me?" That's the very next words out of our mouth, not me, St. Cyril saying this in the 4th century. So we're no different than the people of his time. And so this is the component that we forget. Because at the end, we know this is true, because at the end of the gospel, what does Jesus say? After he sees him again, and he says, "You have been made well, go and sin no more, that nothing worse befall you." So we should not take out of this that we are punished physically for our sins. Now, there are instances where we do this to ourselves. So, if we don't take care of ourselves, meaning that we eat too much, or we drink too much, or we smoke too much, and then we have an illness that befalls us, why do we immediately then turn to God and say, "Why have you done this to me?" And so we fail to ask the second question, do I want to be healed in my soul? So when we go to the doctor's office and we present him with the myriad of our problems, whether it's heart disease or liver disease or whatever it is, the doctor sometimes says to us, "You are the cause of your own problems." That's the kind of doctor that I like, that tells me, you caused this problem. Not God, you caused this. What we have to take from this is when we get sick, as many of our fathers of the church have taught us, is this is an opportunity that God has given us that we may reflect upon our lives and see what we have lost. I'm speaking from personal experience. Because when I had to have my hip replaced, I was only concerned about how fast am I going to recover. And the doctor said, "You ain't going to recover overnight. It's going to take you time." But what I found in that time was time for me to reflect on who I was, because God purposely slowed me down so that I had time to recover, and it gave me the opportunity that I could reflect on, do I want to be made well? And I could reflect on what it was that I was doing, and then correct not only the physical, but also then to correct the spiritual. So what we have in here is a beautiful idea from St. Cyril, that we have to see both sides of what Jesus is saying to us. And when we get sick, to ask ourselves, do we truly want to be made well? The doctor has told me that I should stop smoking, and he has taken out one of my lungs, but I'm still breathing now, so I can smoke again. So do I really want to be made well? No. No, I don't. I just want to continue with the life that I had. And now we hear the second part of what Jesus said, then go and sin no more, lest something worse befall you. And that worse we have seen many, many times in those around us and sometimes then in ourselves. So let us take heed to this wonderful statement that St. Cyril of Jerusalem exegetes for us and explains to us about, do we truly want to be made well?